like to introduce Bill Mott.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and the board. I've only got one question. Phil, please, at the AGM last year, the National Bank chairman was asked whether National Bank victims of the BBSW manipulation and the enforceable undertaking NAB negotiated with ASIC for $50 million would be compensated. Now, neither Ken Henry nor Andrew Thorburn chose to answer the question. They gave it to you, I believe, to answer. You would remember it.
I do remember.
Yeah. And your statement was there was no evidence, even though the 50 million was paid, it was obviously attempted, but there was no evidence that the manipulation affected the course of the BBSW. Now, in Canberra HEC hearings, the same questions were asked and you gave the same answers. So I take it we're clear on that. Now, following on from last year's questions, National Bank has been sued in the USA for manipulating the BBSW, which in Australia is reflected in all commercial interest rates and dealings through derivatives. It appears that NAB increased the BBSW to create that effect and then decreased it by manipulation at an appropriate date when they needed to pay BBSW plus to their bond holders, identified in securitisation dealings. Would this be correct, sir?
So the allegations on the BBSW case were against a range of banks for attempting to manipulate it, and one of those cases actually went to court. And the issue is that there was no demonstrated pattern presented by ASIC that any organisation had been able to consistently either increase it or decrease it on particular occasions. And therefore it's almost impossible to establish who would have benefited from any of the inappropriate conduct. Obviously, borrowers would have benefited from it if it was artificially forced down, and investors would have been damaged by that, and the reverse would be true if the rate went up. From the evidence that was presented in the various allegations made by ASIC, it would appear that banks were fighting in different directions on the same day, which is why it's been very difficult to establish whether there was ever any impact from it whatsoever.
Yeah, well, I don't agree. We've obtained evidence from America to the contrary, and obviously that's why there's litigation in America. So I think it will be coming to Australia, and it's going to be big if it does, or when it does. As you know, I'm a bank victim, and we turned over like in excess of $163 million worth of bank bills. And if there was any sort of variance caused by the bank, then surely to God, I've copped it, haven't I?
Well, that would depend whether it was up or down.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Mott.